Now, as I said in my opening, we have now the opportunity for all of you to ask questions of the panel. They surely have prompted some questions. There were things that you might not have understood or other questions related to breast and other cancers that we would be happy to entertain. If you have a question, just put up your hand and we will get a microphone to you. There's one in front. While we're getting the microphone to you, I'm going to just start off and ask Dan a question. Dan, the CTCs for detection, I think an obvious question that many in the audience might have is what role could this play in screening a healthy population that does not have cancer?
So it's an important question, and there's always the question of is it that helpful to find these cells when you already know that someone has cancer? I think whenever you take any kind of test and apply it across a large population, a large number of people, you'd better be absolutely sure that you don't have any false positives or false negatives, and we're not there yet. So my sense is that right now we're studying with patients who are known to have cancer. I think the next step will be to study patients who have a primary cancer but it hasn't spread yet, to try to help us figure out is this a bad cancer or not. And then probably the next step would be patients who have a familial tendency or familial risk for cancer, to see if we can use this as a non-invasive monitoring along with mammography. I think before we even go to patients who don't have cancer, the test has to be that much more robust. But it's very much alongside with that vision. And we have found in some of our prostate trials, for example, that about a fifth of patients who have localized prostate cancers do have cells in their blood. So we do see that these cells can be found before the cancer has spread. But again, a lot more work needs to be done before we can get there.
Yeah, I just wanted to get this out because I know there's a natural temptation to imagine that once this technology is developed, it will just go to the local physician's office, get a tube of blood drawn. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that there's a little bit of nuance to this before one would do that. Larry and Edith both have comments.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if 25% of people with localized prostate cancer have these cells, not all of them are going to recur with metastatic disease. And so that really illustrates what we've been talking about, is that the cells by themselves may not be the problem. It's the cells forming a society, population with other cells that could help them grow into tumors. If the cells are just circulating, and even if they go into tissues and they don't grow into masses, they're never going to cause anybody any trouble. As a matter of fact, my leukemia colleagues tell me that anybody over age 50 has individual cells in their bone marrow that by any molecular definition would be called leukemic cells. But these people don't have leukemia. They just have individual isolated cells, and it doesn't turn into a disease. So the work is really, I mean, we're all basically talking about the same thing. The three of us here are talking about the same thing in terms of, you know, understanding what are the things that can go wrong with genes, and mutations, or actually changes in genes, only part of them. You could actually have two normal genes stuck together, as Edith is saying, and that could behave in an abnormal way. That could make the cell wander, and that could be detected. But the cell probably needs more than that to turn into a real tumor, to turn into a real problem. It needs the ability not only to grow, but also the ability to recruit helper cells. And the good news is obviously the tools are now available, and people are working very hard to try to dissect all this process out.
Edith.
Yeah, great. Well, this discussion speaks very well for the BCRF, because when you help fund the BCRF, you're funding one investigator, but you're really funding everybody. Because, as I was talking with Dan yesterday, one of the large international clinical trials that I'm involved in enrolled 8,400 women in 52 countries. 1,000 of these women were enrolled in the United States, and we actually collected blood specimens to be able to evaluate circulating tumor cells. These patients will be followed for the next 15 years. It's really magical that we can establish a collaboration because we each know what the other one is doing. I'm going to have the specimens from all of these patients enrolled. I'm going to have the follow-up information through the conduct of these clinical trials. And I'm going to save these specimens so that until the technology that he's developing is the right time, so that we can get the answers right away. Because if Dan just waited, quote unquote, to develop this technology to think, oh my gosh, then we have to use that technology in patients and follow them for 10 years, then it would take a lot longer to get the answer. So by working together, I'm doing the initial work now, and it's waiting for the technology to be ready. So again, BCRF allows this type of communication that will help improve the field.
Yeah, so this is collaboration, which we're very proud of. as a team.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yeah, I just can't, it's an emotional moment because everyone's not here, and, as Leonard mentioned, I mean, this has been an act of love from the very, very beginning, all of us together, Evelyn and Leonard working together as a team, and I clearly was involved from the very, very beginning. That she's not here is kind of it's a spirit for me, and I'm feeling emotionally moved by that, but also moved in a more positive sense in terms of by the vision of BCRF from the beginning. And Edith, you started this, so it's your fault. If I cry, it's your fault. Is that what creative people need? She said, look, I work in a creative industry. Cosmetics industry is all about creating new things, and that creative people need two things: they need money and they need freedom. And then wonderful things happen. You give them the resources and you say, just do your very best work, and then we'll see the work you do. Obviously, there's going to be judgment after that work. And so all breast cancer organizations are not the same. I mean, we all wear pink, yes, but they're not the same. BCRF was founded on the principle of getting the very, very best minds and giving them resources and freedom and security, financial security, so that they can work together in a non-competitive fashion. And that's really what we're talking about. And Dan is new to the family, and he's caught the spirit right away, I think, in this regard, because this idea of if you don't have to, do competitive grants on a regular kind of cycle, you can try imaginative new things, and you could try doing things that may not work, but it's okay because you're doing it collaboratively together, and that's what creativity is all part. So it's a very special. It's a very special organization. The networking, as Edith mentioned, is as much a part of it as the support of individual scientists, and that's something that we're proud of, and we owe that vision to Evelyn Lauder.
Thank you.